Welcome on in to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch, one of our first of the off season, unfortunately, but it is all good. We have turned the page. We are, looking towards the future. But if this is your guys' first time in here, whether in the YouTube chat or if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening, welcome in. Make sure you guys, hit the like button, rate us 5 stars on whatever app you're on, and make sure to leave any comments or subscribe. It really does help out. And then also make sure you guys check us out on Twitter. Still got the banger memes going out, and then check out the Discord as well. Especially with some of the other sports kind of kicking up into high gear with football being, almost in the middle of it. Hockey starting back up, same with basketball. Great time to join, so make sure you guys hop in. But there was a little bit of Dbacks news in between our last, end of the season recap show when we were kind of getting our rants out and all that. And between now and a little bit of time to kind of sit on it and whatnot, but the Dbacks did end up parting ways with some of their pitching staff or pitching coaches on their staff. Pitching coach Brent Strom, assistant pitching coach Dan Carlson, and bullpen coach Mike Fetters were all relieved of their current positions. Steve Gilbert did say that they will not return next year in their current roles. I don't know if that means for everybody, but all those three guys are out of their jobs. So the question I wanted to, have to you guys, Gabe, I'll start with you, is was this a scapegoat firing on, them kind of letting go Strom, or was this deserved after even Strom's comments of, heavy is the, the person that wears the crown, or heavy is the head that wears the crown, and that is the pitching coach in this aspect. Was this a scapegoat firing, or is this kind of deserved because of the pitching staff having a ERA that was borderline on par with the White Sox? So I'm going to start with you, good sir.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think maybe just doing it this early in the season might be slightly scapegoaty, but at the same time, it's you get a pitching coach a lot sooner this way. You can get new people in there, you get new eyeballs. But I know a lot of people want to blame the injuries that this team had. And yeah, obviously everybody was injured. We had to rely on Brandon Fodder and Ryan Nelson for the entire season because everyone else was injured. But I want to bring up the fact that the Padres and the Dodgers had as many or more injuries than the Diamondbacks. And yet the Padres and Dodgers were 12th and 13th in ERA. The Diamondbacks are 27th. They were double the ERA as the Padres and the Dodgers. The Padres were at 3.86 and the Dodgers were 3.90. The Dodgers were legitimately desolate when it came to pitching. They had no pitching at all for most of the season. They had to rely solely on, Glasnow and Yamamoto for the first 3 months of the season. Then they both fell apart. And so it has, I don't think it's much of an excuse. I know Montgomery limited spring training and with Erod, same thing too. It's a lot of excuses, I
It's
feel.
not
but
an excuse for Jordan Montgomery being trash all season.
all
I'll give
season,
you that for the first 2 months. After that, he should have been in
yeah.
his groove. Nah.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where maybe could be kind of an excuse, but at the same time, I don't, after a while, after a few months, it's all right, there's no excuse at this point. This team clearly had a lot of issues, so I think it was fine in my view. I mean, you can't have a 6.7 ERA or whatever it was and keep the pitching staff and pitching coaches around. You can't fire Gallen, we can't fire Montgomery, we can't fire Kelly, we can't fire these guys, so they had to make a move, and they made it. And I mean, Strom is going to be 76 or 77 next year. I mean, he's really good with young players, but I think maybe there's some sort of rift between him and the older players that they don't want to necessarily listen to him, or his teaching styles don't mesh as well with guys veterans like Gallen or Kelly and stuff like that.
I think that's a great point, especially with the, him getting up there in age. And that's kind of what Steve Gilbert's, wording on them not returning in their current roles. I know we were talking about in the group chat a little bit of the possibility of maybe him still sticking around kind of in a Dan Herron-esque pitching strategist type role, but he gets to stay in Arizona, doesn't have to worry about traveling to all of the away series like the actual pitching coach of the team would, or it generally could be, like you said, that some of the players might not be meshing well. Maybe they're just, kind of butting heads a little bit. But I do think it's a little bit of both. Definitely have to look at somebody, and he's probably the main guy to blame. But it's still he's not the one kind of leaving some of the meat pitches. He's not the one that's not executing well. So to me, it felt a little bit like a scapegoat. I think Fetters should have been let go probably a year or two before. I really don't know what a bullpen coach does much. But those are just my 2 cents. Brandon, same question to you. Was in your eyes a scapegoat firing, and then just kind of getting rid of somebody that needed to go, or do you think that you kind of agree with Gabe, this being a somewhat understandable business decision considering what we saw from this pitching staff throughout 2024?
So the day this happened, the way everything transpired was very odd to me. I don't know if it was just Steve Gilbert trying to be like not as harsh, that these guys were no longer being in their current roles, but then later we find out no, they were like, when you say not in their current roles next season, to me, when I hear that, I think, okay, they're still on the team. They're just not going to be like Strom was not going to be the pitching coach full time. But then later it comes out, no, they were they straight up fired, just no longer employed by the team. So I don't know if Steve Gilbert in that one was just like trying to be more sensitive for them losing their jobs. But like when that first tweet came out, I'm like, okay, so maybe they're still with the team, but like we said, Strom is a lot older, so maybe he would only be with the team when they're at home. So I thought that was interesting, but they had to do something. Like the fans, like if they brought back the entire same coaching staff next year, I think a lot of people, their go-to is fire the manager because they think that fixes everything. But so they're like, we got to make some sort of change. And they're like, well, what was the one position group that was probably the cause of why we didn't make the playoffs? And it was the pitch, like not just starting pitching, it was the entire pitching staff. As we went over, the fact that you're 27th in Major League Baseball in ERA is not a good sign. If they were average, like what the Padres and the Dodgers were, middle of the road, who knows? They might still be playing right now. We don't know what would have transpired over those series, but if you play the Brewers, I think it feels like it's destiny that you go deep in the playoffs.
Every single team that has beat the Brewers since like the 80s
has made
the World Series. Not won it, but made the World Series. The Mets are very close to continuing that trend.
So, I'm not like people were talking about near the end of the season. All right, so if the team doesn't make the playoffs, do they fire Strom? And I'm like, I don't think he was the main cause, but he also wasn't helping the team. So I'm like, letting him go. Like I wasn't like, I'm be like, that is a stupid decision. Like I'm okay with it. Just curious as to, is this going to be the time that they finally put Dan Herron to the forefront? Because if you follow this team closely, Dan Herron does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work with the starting pitchers a lot. So I'm wondering if they're like, all right, Herron, like I wouldn't be surprised if he's named the pitching coach. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever.
I believe he was there this week or that last weekend. I believe he was there with the team in the dugout too. So it could just be him getting groomed to take that position. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, he makes the whole pitching plan for the pitchers. He's always there with them. They talk to him. So, I mean, I guess it's all this to say is also like if they would have kept him for next year, I would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm curious about what the impact was with Gabby. Because as soon as Gabby came back, again, this pitching staff made a complete 180. They all,
night and day
6,
difference.
7 innings. Like this was a completely different team with Gabby at the helm again. So I think maybe they should have just kept him just to see if Gabby was healthy at the beginning of the season. Everybody's back healthy. There's no excuses. And if they still struggle, I think it would have been time to get rid of Strami, and we can talk about him as well. But Fetters, I mean, this bullpen has been struggling with Fetters. Like, I don't know what the bullpen coach does. Honestly, I know he works with them, but I don't know how much he works with them because it seems like Fetters is sometimes like a little bit more chummy with the guys, and maybe that's his job. Maybe it's up to him to keep him loose, to you know, keep them from getting into their heads too much or something. But at this point, it's like it is maybe a scapegoat, but you needed to make a change. And the glaring issue when you have the highest runs scored in the league, the supposed best offense in baseball, and you also in the meantime have the worst pitching staff in baseball. Like it's kind of an easy choice, although I think we should also look at Joe Mather a little bit closer as well.
Yes, I'm kind of a little more convinced. I don't think it's definitely a scapegoat thing. I think it's rough because we love Strom. I was very partial on him, especially when he left the Astros and came to us. But after having an ERA close to the Angels, White Sox, and Rockies, it's you got to make some kind of change. So I can definitely see it, and I think the Dan Herron move wouldn't be a bad one. It'd be kind of interesting to see him in a full pitching coach role. I love Dan Herron personally, and he was a good pitching mind. So I think that would work really well.
He was a great pitcher when he played. So
he was.
It's not like because you'll see some of these guys that are really good like pitching minds and you're like, why were you so bad when you played? Or like why you didn't last very long, or the other way around. Like you have someone like who's as good as like say for like Greg Maddux, but like I am not saying Greg Maddux is like this, but like someone of that quality, and then they go to be a coach and they're awful. So it's just
Mark Pryor's a good example of somebody who's a good pitcher and is a good pitching coach.
Yeah, I think
when he was healthy. That's the thing with Mark Pryor when he saw the field.
I think the issue with a lot of these guys, if they're an elite pitcher, like let's say a Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens, the reason why, or even Greg Maddux, the reason why they can never be a good coach is because they have a guy and they tell him, all right, hit this corner spot. If the pitcher doesn't hit the corner spot, he's gonna be like, why can't you do that? I do it. I'm like, yeah, well, that's why you're in the Hall of Fame, my guy. Like, same with Larry Bird coaching. It's like, yeah, not everybody is you, man. Like, not everybody is Michael Jordan.
Correct.
Not everybody's, touched by the sports gods where everything they do is just, insane. A lot of these guys, they struggle throughout the league. That's why guys like Counsell have great minds for the game because they struggle throughout their careers and they have to find ways to stay in the game. And they're able to pass on that knowledge other than just, I threw 100 miles an hour and I had a wipeout slider. So,
I like how you just said pass on the knowledge. Some guys aren't good at that. Like they know it, but they're not good at explaining and having guys grasp the idea of passing on that knowledge.
That's why I think the Guardians have been so good this year because Stephen Vogt seems like that's why I think a lot of people were praising that decision. It's because similar to the Counsell, similar to one of those where they have to have those different experiences of knowing how to change parts of the game to stay relevant in baseball and extend their career. It looks like he's done a great job of not only connecting with his team so far, but also just
he's gonna win AL Manager of the Year. Like
he should, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody goes into like the Royals manager has a good case, man. Good case.
What about I want to ask about what about Greinke? Do you guys think he'd be one of the coaches?
I would love
maybe not
Zach
Dan Herron's job, but one of the.
I think as long as he doesn't have to talk to media, he's like is. He's.
I mean, that would be.
Yeah,
that would be Dan Herron's job right there. So
yeah.
Dan Herron can take the main pitching coach job. Then the strategist could be Zach Greinke.
Yeah, because Zach Greinke was. Like he was so good, like he just loved the sport of baseball. He just didn't like the other stuff he had to do, like talk to people, talk to people that aren't associated with the team.
Hey, he liked the sunsets here at least, Sorry, I always love that interview answer. But shout out to obviously everybody in the YouTube comment section, whether you're here as a D-backs fan or like our man Shug here. I won't say it. I'm not going to actually read the comment out loud, but I'll put it up there. What up, Shug? Yeah, thumbs down to that, but, tip of the cap to you. Bubba, AZ Bubba, always good to see you as well. And then Oscar, go Phils. Yeah, Phils won one more game than us. Good job. I'm not going to glow too much. We couldn't even make it to the dance, so can't be too happy. But he says Gabe is a pitching coach since he thinks so much about pitching, even though I hit bomb. Oh, okay. Gabe, do you want to respond to the allegations?
Yeah, that's a lie. He doesn't make it past the infield.
Imagine it's like we need to get you guys on if you watch any YouTube with like We Got Ice. They like obviously they're on the warehouse games for John Boy Media and a bunch. Shout out to them. But on their like side channel, they do a bunch of like 1v1 pitching battles, like Jack's the pitcher, Zoe's the hitter. I imagine it's very similar to that situation where Zoe's kind of lucky to get anything to like go past the pitcher.
Yeah, I already know how to attack Oscar. It's up and in with fastballs. He loves them, but he can't hit them.
Ooh, okay. I like it. Maybe we'll have to get an actual IRL video. But somebody that is hopefully doesn't have any issues with an up and in fastball, and if they do, they can work it out a little bit. This coming winter is going to be Jordan Lawler, because Jordan Lawler is, according to at least this report on Burn City Sports, going to be playing in the Dominican Winter League in this offseason to whether get some time back from the time lost from the injury this year, or just to work on a few things that maybe he feels like he needs to. But I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Probably not at all. But it's the Tigres del Lice. I don't know, man. Gabe, you can probably correct me on that because again, I'm gonna butcher it. But yes, he is.
Los Tigres del.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I'm not gonna embarrass myself even more. I'm gonna leave it there.
You already have.
Hey, sometimes you got to roll with the punches. But Jordan Lawler is going to be playing winter ball down there. So my question to you guys was, one, were you surprised by this news? Like I was, because I honestly didn't really expect many like Dbacks in general, especially a minor leaguer, to go down there. But one, were you surprised? And two, do you think that this is a better option than going to play in the Arizona Fall League? So Gabe, start with you on this one.
So I looked it up. It's Los Tigres del Licey. I would assume one of the things is, I mean, he is facing, I think, better pitching than he would in the Fall League. I mean, there's a lot of actual major leaguers that go play in the Dominican League, and same with the Venezuelan League or Mexican League. There's a lot of actual major leaguers there. A lot of them go get their work done, and also, like I mentioned before about the Mexican League, they pay you in cash in duffel bags. So I'm sure Lawler's going to enjoy getting big duffel bags of cash when he's down there.
Who cares, y'all?
So, yeah, I mean, you get some scratch. You can go down to Daniel's Jewelers or whatever the team goes to get their bling. But yeah, I think he's probably better off there, just because, like I said, there's actually major leaguers there in the Fall League. It is a lot of minor leaguers, and it's a lot of guys from single and double A. And in the Fall League, and then the Dominican League, he's probably going to face either guys who are in the majors or AAA guys who are also just like him, trying to get their work in, and also, looking to make a little extra scratch as well. So, I mean, it's fine for me. I wouldn't say it's not expected or unexpected. I think it is good for him to get that extra work in and face actual good pitching, and so he can get into shape again, because I know this season was a wash, and hopefully this helps him, and then we can be a front runner for the Rookie of the Year next year.
Yeah, I think the point of just potentially facing a little bit better pitching competition is probably very true. Like, not saying anybody in the Arizona Fall League. Also, shout out to Red Sox Nation, Corbin Barrels. Hell yeah. I agree. Smile, Brandon. It's okay. Your team, one of your other teams is still in the playoffs. It's okay.
Hey, are you sure? Because y'all are very rude about it, by the way.
It's because you're a divisional rival. Sorry, I had to.
Okay, we are not gonna get.
I know.
Not
sorry.
gonna go over that on stream.
Hey, you're the one who wanted us to bust on your face or whatever you said in the chat.
Come on, you were supposed to.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that'll be for another stream. But sorry. Yes, I do agree that facing a little bit better pitching down in the Arizona Fall League would probably be ideal or than in the Arizona Fall League. And who knows, maybe like you said, the duffel bags of cash will kind of make him come back to the States with a little bit more, money to be like, hey, Tori, here you go. Here's a nice little gift. Make me your backup third baseman next year. Thank you very much. But Brandon, same thoughts to you on Jordan Lawler going to Dominican for the Winter League. Or were you surprised by it? And do you think that this is a better move than maybe opting into the Fall League down here in Arizona?
I wouldn't say I was surprised. I just didn't know if that would be an option for him. To be honest, I didn't know if he was considering Winter League ball. I like that he is because of how much time he missed this year. He missed a lot of time. And then, like Gabe said, the competition in the Dominican Winter League is probably better than the Arizona Fall League. Like, I'm not saying that the Arizona Fall League is not good competition. I just think that he'll face tougher competition, so he'll be more seasoned and ready to go for spring next year. Because depending on what they decide to do with Gino, Lawler is our third baseman of the future. I know that he was drafted to be the shortstop of the future, and everyone thought he was going to be. Then Geraldo Perdomo was like, no, man, that's mine. Perdomo has that thing firm in his grasp. Like,
do you know who else was drafted as a shortstop, really good at shortstop, and then was forced to third base because of a really good shortstop? Manny Machado.
Fernando Tatis, Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Merritt. Like, do you want to list the entire San Diego Padres starting lineup?
Well, no, I was going off the Orioles because Machado had to move to third because of JJ Hardy.
Yeah. And like, I think Perdomo is, from what we've seen, is a better defensive shortstop. So I think there's no reason to move him. Like, Lawler has a good arm. He can play I think he'd be a really good third baseman. He could be our starting third. He could be our starting left side of that infield for the next decade. Could be Perdomo and Lawler. They're both under the age of 24, I think. Because I think Perdomo's 23, 24. Lawler's like 21, 22. So that could be our starting left side for the next decade. Now, Perdomo, for the love of God, please go to the gym this year. That's all I ask, is just work on that strength, because fly balls right at the track. But yeah, I'm very excited there for Jordan Lawler. He just needs to stay healthy. Like, that's the big thing for me, because we know there was a reason why he was rumored to go top 5 when he was drafted. The only reason he didn't was because of injury. So we benefited from that. So it's not that he's not talented. So, Lawler, hopefully things go well for you there in the Dominican Winter League. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that once that season starts, for sure.
Yeah, I think something to keep an eye on. I know we're talking about third base, but I think maybe we should keep an eye on if he's taking grounders at first, just because the future with Christian Walker is not certain. And I don't know how confident this team is in Pavin Smith playing that position. The issue with Pavin is that they can't send him down anymore, I believe, after this season or in this season, because his options are up. So you got to put Pavin somewhere, and maybe they'll put him at first. Maybe they'll keep him as DH. Sorry, but yeah, I think everybody should keep an eye on to see if Lawler's either taking grounders at first, or if he's even playing first in the Winter League.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's actually a good thing. Like, it's easier, I think, defensively than trying to learn third base. Occasionally you get those hard ones hit at you, and Christian Walker makes it seem like it's nothing. So yeah, everyone prepare yourselves, have low expectations that Walker's not coming back, because I don't think he is.
He deserves his bag,
Someone,
man. I'm not gonna be mad about
yeah,
it.
someone's going to give him over 25 million a year. Someone's probably going to give him a 4 or 5 year deal between 100 and 125. I just don't.
It's gonna be the Yankees.
It probably is going to be the Yankees because their starting first baseman right now is Oswaldo Cabrera and John Birdie. So
Yeah, and I mean, he could be an elite. Like he's so good at going the opposite field too that he could take advantage of the short porch over there or the short wall in either corner.
Yeah.
But whether or not he comes back or not, you sadly cannot bet on the or you cannot pick a higher or lower on his over-unders, but you can do a higher or lower when you take a swing at pick'em this baseball season on Underdog. Still in the middle of the playoffs. The two teams have already punched their ticket to the championship series, both of them from New York. Boo, boo, boo. But again, there's still plenty of action to take, and that is on Underdog. Over 1 million fans across the 3 states got into the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Me personally, again, especially in football and in baseball, I like to go higher on Xavier McKinney, his interceptions, 5 weeks in a row, make it 6 in a row this week off of Kyler Murray. Sorry. And then even for the playoffs with the pitcher, always go lower on pitcher outs. They're probably going to go to the bullpen pretty early unless it's a guy like Garrett Cole or Tariq Skubal. So make sure go the lower on there. That's what I like to do. But Underdog is super easy to play, even easier to get started. Get their easy-to-use mobile app or go to underdogfantasy.com, sign up with promo code DISPATCH, and Underdog will give you a mystery special pick to use on your first pick-em entry plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code DISPATCH to claim your new customer special of a mystery player pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 years or older, 19 plus in Alabama and 19 years older, Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona. President state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concern with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. AZ 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. God, that was a mouthful. Sorry, I had to get through all that. One of the things, obviously we talked about it a little bit with Jordan Lawler choosing to go to the Dominican League or Dominican ball in the winter over the Arizona Fall League. The Arizona Fall League is actually happening right now. I believe it just started this last week. Yumin Lin just got the ball the other day.
I think it started today, or
I guess yesterday,
Dbacks, had their players had their game today, I believe.
Yeah, so some of it started early, which is always a fun time because the D-backs have some pretty notable names, especially if you're into prospects and into some of the names we've even mentioned here. There's some names to look out for. They got infielder Tommy Troy, left-hand pitcher Yumin Lin, our man. We're definitely going to go out there and try to get some game and footage of him. Infielder Gino Groover, so it'll be interesting to see, again, kind of the first base situation. Maybe he's getting some more action over there. Outfielder Christian Robinson, great to see him getting some more action. Then for the pitchers, they brought right-hander Dylan Ray, left-hander Philip Abner, and then 2 more right-handers in Kyle Ament and Alfredo Murillo. So some interesting names and some players that, if you don't know them, we're at least going to get to see a little more footage of them and kind of get familiar with them as they go. But the question that I had to you, gentlemen, and even you guys in the chat that are listening, is what player or players do you have your eyes on going into the Fall League? Again, I mentioned Christian Robinson and Gino Groover are the 2 that I'm kind of eyeing, but I want to hear which ones that you guys might be interested in. Gabe, start with you.
Yeah, it's probably Christian Robinson just because he's been a part of this organization for a long, long time now. And he did have, some legal issues that prohibited him from, reaching his true potential. But he was supposed to be one of our outfielders. He was supposed to be there with Corbin and Alec. Like, he was our future. So it's been a bit disappointing how his career has gone. But overall, like, I am interested in what he's going to be able to do during the Fall League. I believe he was there last year as well. And he was there in spring training, and I think the minor league season as well. So I'm excited to see him. Hopefully, they can do something with him, and he can show out a bit because he needs to be somewhere in this organization, and hopefully, the fall league is a little bit of a jumping off point for him.
Yes, I think it'll be great because he doesn't really have a full home in the outfield. It's pretty locked down. Especially, I'm a little surprised Drew Jones isn't in this. I personally was going to expect to see him in there, but maybe after finishing the year, maybe they're giving him a little bit of time off. But Brandon, same question to you. Are you kind of in the same boat as me and Gabe? You got your eyes on Christian Robinson and maybe someone else, or is there somebody else that we haven't mentioned that is kind of sticking out to you a little bit?
Number one for me is Yumin Lin, for sure. He actually started a game, went 3 innings, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts. So, not too bad on 41 pitches. I'd say that's pretty efficient. The big one for me on that stat line, no walks, because I know he had the one start in spring training that was like his command was all over the place. So it was, and then also we had that scare when he got hit by a foul ball sitting in the dugout, which is the worst thing. Like, you weren't even on the field. Like, you would think, oh, I'm in the dugout, I should be pretty safe. So
that's the kind of thing that Dave Roberts thought was coming at him.
Y'all should have seen me on Twitter that day, dude. I was like, y'all Dodgers fans are morons. What I'm curious, like it looks like we're starting to have an issue with the Padres. So many middle infielders. So I'm curious as to, are they going to transition to some of these guys to other positions, like Gabe said with Jordan Lawler, first base? Because we have no first baseman of the future. Like, if they don't re-sign Walker, what are we going to do? Pavin cannot have 500 at-bats. Pavin cannot have 500 at-bats. Like, I don't mind him, like, a platoon. Like, I do not want to see him there day in and day out starting first base. So I think the other person I'm interested in is Gino Groover. I'm very curious to see, because he's still very young. He's like 22 years old. So still very young. Second round pick in 2023. So he has not been with the organization very long. So that's, I think, who I'm interested in. Dylan Ray, I might also keep an eye on as well. Another one of these things, I feel like we have a lot of decent guys as starters for pitching in this organization. We need to develop some bullpen arms. Like, that's because our bullpen is just like,
You still got Landon Sims and some other guys at least waiting in the wings.
Landon
We're not going to see him in the fall league, but
Landon Sims is like, that's the one prospect for a reliever that I'm like, if he can develop quickly, and we have him and J Mart, y'all,
and Puck for another 2 years.
Yeah, and like that has me really excited. And what are they going to be doing with Dre? Like, because I think he'll be ready for the start of the season. Because I believe it was like he got Tommy John in like June of last year. So
I want to see somebody get Tommy John 3 now, man. I want to see what the recovery time on that is. I'm going to start harping on it.
Or not for our team. If someone else on another team, then yeah, I will see. As Corbin Barrel said, what about Dre? They just need to make a decision on what is he. Is he a starter or is he a bullpen arm? I personally would rather him be a bullpen arm. Just go 110% for 10 to 15 pitches. Because he has his fastball. And I'm not sure if it's a slider or a sweeper, but that pitch is also really, really good. Like, there's a lot of young guys right there that we named. Landon Sims, J Mart, Dre Jameson. Like, we need to start developing these bullpen arms. That way, not every trade deadline, let's go trade for a bullpen arm. I mean, every team does that every year. And then, like Brett said, we have AJ Puck locked up. So yeah, Human Lin though is number one. Like I'm gonna look like, all right, when is he scheduled to start? Obviously, I might see if I can go to a couple of the games.
Tickets are cheap, and you can sit wherever. You can get great spots.
They don't care. They're like, just pay to get in, and then you can sit where you want because it's not going to be full. So, very excited for the fall league.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I can make, I don't know, maybe an announcement. Are we all going to be at the fall league home run derby November 8th? It's on a Friday.
I'm definitely gonna plan on it if I can.
I probably can't because of my Friday
Oh,
schedule.
football, yeah. You can do football, huh?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Friday, November 8th, it's the Fall League Home Run Derby. I will probably be there knocking kids over and trying to snag fly balls. So, it's a little bit of a meetup if anybody is available to go.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna try to be there. It's it's gonna be fun, especially because again, I usually try to go with my family every year. It's generally really fun because again, not only do you get to sit wherever. Last year when Jordan Lawler was there, it was fun because every time he's up, it's almost like a scouting thing where nobody's really cheering. It's like very quiet. So I'm just there. You guys know I am a very loud voice when I'm yelling 2025 World Series MVP every time Jordan Lawler's up, and then he's kind of hey, what's up, man? It's fun. You get to kind of get a little bit closer to these players than you do in minor league stadiums and even major league stadiums when they finally make it. So definitely take advantage of it if you can. Plus, it's the perfect time of the year for baseball weather. It's starting to get a little bit cooler. You can wear a jacket every now and then. It's the best. So definitely go out to the fall league if you do have the time and all that. But while the fall league is going on, there is we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, and the chat was giving some of their predictions with Bubba saying the Mets are going to go all the way. The playoffs are still going on currently. So as of tonight, 10-10. The Mets yesterday beat the Phillies in Game 4 to take the series 3-1. Francisco Lindor had a crazy walk-off or crazy grand slam that is probably going to be played on the MLB commercials for many years to come. Yankees tonight ended up beating the Royals. Game 4, best of 5. Luke Weaver is turned into Mariano Rivera, who, like everybody would have guessed when we traded Paul Goldschmidt for him, he would have turned into that, just not for us. Dodgers Padres are going to a Game 5 tomorrow night after some drama in a few of these series. Brandon could definitely, tell you probably in the Discord because he could go on way too long of a tangent that we do not want to go on tonight. But in the Discord at him, and he will gladly chew your ear off about it because we can go on for days. And then Guardians and Tigers, actually one of the better series, I'm not going to lie, of all the DSs. They have also tied going to Game 5 back in Cleveland on Saturday. Tariq Skubal is going to have the ball again. So, that's going to be one you want to tune in on. But the way that some of these, playoff games have turned out, obviously with the wild card series last week and then the division series about to be wrapped up going into this weekend. My question to you guys kind of, finishing off here was seeing the playoffs and how they've turned out. Does it make you a little less angry or less or more angry with how the D-back season ended? There was the possibility that we even talked about if they did make the playoffs that maybe they get bounced in that first round, or maybe they get to the division series and get swept like what happened in 2017 against the Dodgers. Does it make it a little bit easier of a pill to swallow, or are you guys still a little bit bitter just knowing about the potential that was there of just squeaking in the playoffs? So Gabe, I want to start with you first.
I guess my reaction is I'm pissed now. Watching these guys, I feel like we had a better team than the Mets or even the Braves, and to a certain extent, maybe even the Padres. Just the way our lineup can be constructed, because they had to throw out Dylan Cease on 3 days rest after giving up 5 runs at the start before. I don't know. I feel like we could have easily gone Gallen, Kelly, Fott, and taken the series pretty easily again, but it's just it is very frustrating to watch because there's certain times during the game where you're like, "Ah, I feel like Corbin Carroll could have gotten that, or I feel like Cattell could have gotten that hit, or Gallen could have gotten out of that inning, but so much woulda, coulda, shoulda. But it is very frustrating. I feel like if there's any season that this team could have probably coasted to the playoffs, it probably would have been this one, which is really frustrating because I mean playoffs aren't guaranteed, which is something that we've talked about with the way Tory rests guys, for the playoffs, and then playoffs don't come. So it is something that I think we should focus on next year because Yamamoto's coming back healthy, Glasnow's going to come back healthy, Otani's going to come back healthy. Who knows about the Padres as well? Like so many of these teams are going to get healthy, they're going to get better. The the Reds, I feel, are going to make a big step forward this year as long as their team spent money. There's a lot of teams right now that are on that cusp of like just a couple of really really good players. Same with the Pirates, like there's a few teams that are on that cusp of making that leap forward, and you don't want to get left behind. I mean, we missed the playoffs this year, can't miss them again next year because 90 wins was the minimum this year. 92, 93 could be the minimum next year.
Yeah,
fully agree. Yes, I think that's a great point, especially the end. Just baseball in general is a little bit more competitive. I know some people still think that the regular season doesn't matter now because of the amount of playoff teams that make it, or that it's the first round bye is a joke and it's it's a hindrance to teams. But to me, I still feel like it's made baseball as a sport more competitive. Like we have one team, the White Sox were like the only team I could think of that were like absolute garbage. Where even the other teams that were bad throughout the year, like the A's, some of those other guys, it just wasn't as terrible as in years past. So I think it's kept teams a little more competitive. And if we're like you said, if the Reds and Pirates and some of those other teams that are just right there of being real contenders, if they spend a little bit of money, that's a few series that you could flip this season that make the D-backs like even more of a disappointment. They could, instead of being an 89 win team that barely missed the playoffs, they could be like an 83, 84 win team, the same wins as last year, and be out of the playoffs by an even larger margin. So I do kind of agree with you. It's still a little bit salty taste in my mouth. Still, rough even watching some playoff games where I'm like, damn, dude, like that could be the D-backs right now. Seeing these like celebrations, seeing like my friends that are like Yankees fans and like Mets fans, like all excited and good for them, rightfully so. Hell yeah, congrats to any of them that might be listening. Good for you guys. So it's a fun high that you don't want to go away from. But man, it sucks when you got to look on the outside in. But Brandon, same question to you. Seeing all the playoffs and how it's turned out, are you kind of in the same boat that me and Gabe are, where little pissed off that thinking that we could still be better than these teams, or is it one of those where it's not as big of a deal, or it's kind of simmered down a little bit for you? So floor is yours.
now I'm not as pissed as I was that Wednesday when the Mets and Brewers were playing, because I'm like, great, Mets, if you would have tried in that game 2 against the Braves, you would have beaten them. You would have gone to San Diego. You probably would have lost because their bullpen is better than the Brewers. We would have played the Brewers. Now, what could have happened there? That is, who knows? We don't know that we could have beaten the Brewers. I just like that. Really, Braves barely put up a fight against the Padres. They barely, they had like 2 good innings where they scored some runs, but outside of that, those 2 games were not competitive whatsoever. The Mets are this year's version of us from last year. Exactly. Like they got hot at the right time, and they have been coasting on that. Like they took the Phillies out in 4, and to be honest, they dominated that entire series. Phillies only won because Bryce Harper got a big 2-run homer, and they got 2 big hits in the 9th. That outside of that Phillies offense did not show up for that series whatsoever.
That you could say they left the pitching staff dancing on their own out there. Oh, sorry.
So I think the Phillies are going to make some changes. I think I know that Dave Dombrowski wants to bring a World Series back to Philly. Watch out. Maybe they trade Schwarber. Maybe they trade Castellanos. Like, I wouldn't be surprised of that.
I saw some
Or
Phillies
they get
fan
Juan
online.
Soto.
Yeah,
Juan
dude,
Soto. Yeah.
they're gonna go get Juan Soto and Alex Bregman. They're gonna be like the Dodgers and be like, "Hey, if you guys can spend $1 billion and struggle through the NLDS, so can we." I saw some Phillies fan online it was a funny video. I'm pretty sure it was a troll. It might have been from a Barstool guy. I don't know, but they're basically making a joke. They're like, "Yeah, the Phillies have too many white boys. Like too many like Kyle, Bryson, like Bryce. Like what are we doing here? Like go get Juan Soto. Get like one of these other guys. Like what are we doing out here?" And I was like, I don't know if I fully agree with the message, but I can.
I mean,
I'm not going to be upset if you guys tear down your team and get rid of Kyle Schwarber. Trade him to us. We could use a new left-handed DH.
I mean,
Jock leaves.
when the league is like 70% Dominican, and it's all white guys up and down the lineup, I don't know. That seems a little
Why do you think the Orioles
pointed and
haven't done
aggressive.
anything?
They just keep being first round exits.
I don't want us to go too long on this, but the fact that Brett brought it up, should they go after Juan Soto? Should the D-backs go after Juan Soto?
That's Gabe that brought it up. First off, I want to make sure he gets credit.
Yeah,
yes.
Soto.
I think they just keep him out of New York, just because I know that would make New York media salty.
I mean, who's to say that the Dodgers wouldn't go after him since they have all that?
I think if the
that
Dodgers
free money
lose tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if they go all in on Juan Soto because they think that I'm like, y'all need starting pitchers.
But that's what we say every year about them. It's like they have a surplus of starting pitchers every year. It's like, oh, they got Gonsolin, May. They list off like 10, 15 guys that everyone's like, we have guys, who all throw 100 miles an hour, have wipeout sliders, but none of them stay healthy. And at that point, it's like, what do? They traded for Glasnow, and he couldn't stay healthy, even though we all knew he wasn't going to. You got Yamamoto, even though with him, coming into a new league, we don't know about him as well. But with Ohtani, we don't know. Like, they have a lot of questions. But I do think, but there's not that many starting pitchers that you can feel confident in getting even for next season. Like, not a lot of free agents. So if the Dodgers do anything,
they
it's
already
probably
have
gonna get
one on their team that's going to be probably starting next year, and that's Shohei. Like
Shohei, May, Gonsolin. They have a few guys that are right there. Walker Buehler is coming back up. Tommy John. So they could end up with the. I believe it's 2025, isn't it?
I thought he was a free agent this year.
No, he is a free agent. Walker Buehler has a expiring contract. So Cruz, who is in our Discord, big time Dodger fan, massive troll.
Just kidding. Yeah, Cruz is growing on us a little bit.
So he asked me a question. Do you pitch Shohei tomorrow? Like, if you have the lead in the 7th inning, do you have him pitch those last 3 innings and risk the next 10 years just to win this series?
As a baseball fan?
No, because it's not worth it. So as a baseball fan, I said no. As a Diamondback fan, I'm like, yes, please.
I think it'd be cool for the moment. Like, kind of like imagine how electric that World Baseball Classic was. Like, yes, long run, I'd rather, like, yes, it sucks he's a Dodger. Keep Shohei healthy because him doing what Babe Ruth was doing against plumbers, but against, actual elite athletes is impressive and needs to keep doing it. But I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to see him go up there and, like, 2-run game, either strike somebody out to keep the Dodgers lead, or imagine, like, Jackson Merrill comes up there and he just fucking clubs a go-ahead home run or something like that. And that's the first memory people have of Shohei pitching as a Dodger. Like, to me, it's like either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think as a baseball fan, it would be great to see like Shohei versus Tatis for that final playoff
or
win.
Shohei versus Machado. Like, that would also be a really good one.
The reason why I don't think they would is just because of what we saw yesterday, which was this Dodgers bullpen can be elite. They have a lot of really good guys back there. So I think, if they have a couple run lead, I don't think Shohei sees, any time in the pitching on the pitching.
Dbacks legend Anthony Bonda, baby. Why does everybody leave here and just become an elite pitcher? What the?
And one last thing, because Gabe also brought it up. If we don't get Walker, Alex Bregman. I wouldn't be against Alex Bregman. I think he'll be a little bit cheaper than Walker. It's not a lot cheaper, but it might be a little bit cheaper. Put him at third. Make sure to bring back Suarez and put Suarez at first.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Hopefully, we get. Sadly, we're like a week or two away from that kind of news.
Yeah, I think once the actual World Series is over, I think that would be a good episode for us to have. Just kind of go over scenarios or like what our wish list for the offseason is. Obviously, for me, and I'll tease it right now, Walker. If you can bring Walker back, like address that first thing. Do not let that be like, oh, we're gonna let him test the market, see how that goes. I'm like, if you do that, then yeah, don't even have fans' expectations that he's coming back. So
I agree. Yes, it's definitely gonna be one of those once the the actual season itself as a baseball season wraps up and all the front offices kind of, get to start their season, I'd say. It'll definitely be probably not even just one episode, definitely a few episodes where we go into more in depth on, our thoughts of wish lists and all that, considering this team's future. But for me, my wish list is just to, for some odd possibility, give me a Tigers or Guardians versus
Padres.
Yeah,
Nope.
versus a pot. If the Padres get past the Dodgers, I'm going for the Mets because I will never root for a divisional opponent to win the World Series.
Then this channel may lose a co-host, aka.
It's okay. That's fine. If the Padres do make it, I'll root for them for you. It's gonna be rough because if it's a Yankees Padres, then
yeah, I'm like
you or the homie Jason, like
that one. I don't blame you, because I think you've known Jason longer, so I don't blame you on that one. But if you go like support the Mets versus the
yeah, I think especially if it was like a Mets versus Yankees, he would kill me, especially. So, but yeah, so definitely gonna have to be something. Definitely have to be something that the next 2 days are gonna be a hate watcher's either dream or nightmare. We're either gonna be sitting there, and Cruz is gonna be ready to just shit talk us back in the Discord.
The man doesn't even watch the games, by the way. I have to text him when stuff is going on because he doesn't have cable.
That's fair. But in the meantime, obviously, that'll probably be updated by this time next week. We're going to be doing shows probably weekly here throughout the off season, unless we get some major breaking news that kind of requires some actual emergency potting. But be on the lookout for some weekly shows. Again, thank you to everyone coming in through live chat. Like every single one of you guys, Shug, Bubba, Oscar, Red Sox Nation, Corbin Barrels, Steve. Yes, Steve. Want to make sure I got that in there. Hell yeah. Seriously appreciate every single one of you guys. Again, make sure you guys like the video, comment, subscribe. Really does help out the channel and all that. Follow Twitter as well. We're close to 2,000. Once we get to 2,000, we're doing another giveaway. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. And yeah, say again, just keep your eyes peeled for more episodes. Fellas, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I don't know. I guess go Tigers.
Yes, go Kingman legend Tariq Skubal.
Mean, if we really want to do it to support former Diamondbacks, it should be go Guardians. If we're being honest, for Stephen Voigt.
Yeah.
I want a Padres Tigers one only because I have a really close friend, also a friend of the channel, William Harold, big Detroit sports fan. And so I asked him, I'm like, have the Tigers and Lions ever been good? He's like, no, because the Lions have never been good. I was like,
oh yeah,
yeah. For me right now, it's anyone but the Yankees, Dodgers, and Mets. So anybody but them, I'm good.
Gotta love hate watching season, but you guys don't have to worry about hate watching us over here because we love you guys. We appreciate every single one of you guys, and we will see you on the next episode of Dbacks Dispatch.
It's the Dbacks Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah, bring Red Game, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home run dogs, diamond gems, we share. Brandon was a stat, sees a man with a plan. Red race it down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. Ain't got that insight, 7 weeks ahead. Tune in, Dbacks Dispatch, this is it. Now we rolling. D-Backs, Dispatch, yeah. Talk to Brandon, Brandon Gay, this is Big Kench. Josh on the Dixie make the beats. West Coast Wild, got the G fucking the band. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-Backs, Dispatch, we here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it together. Home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-Backs, Dispatch, we here to stay. Catch us every